All right, welcome back into Union Station. Thank you everyone for being here, and thanks for those watching at home. Scott Docterman is here with me, along with Iowa head coach Kirk Ferentz. It's going to be hard to replace a guy like Caleb Johnson, just his production last season, but it sounds like it may be a running back committee. But what do you hope some of those backs learned from Johnson and his experience at Iowa?
Yeah, I think his story is a really good one. His first year, he did a lot of good things for us. Last year, 2 years ago, regressed a little bit. Still had his moments and all that, and then last year just played great each and every week. I mean, we could count on him. And probably the Kodak moment for me would be the last game, the Nebraska game. We were having a hard time moving the ball. It was a really good defensive game for both teams. And the play he made for us to score that touchdown, I don't know how many guys bounced off him, but I've always kind of felt like, great players, they just find a way to, in that game we needed something, and he delivered. And that to me I thought that was a highlight of his season, maybe his career here. Great young guy, just a great young guy, pleasure to coach. And to watch, the way he responded week in and week out, that's good for the younger guys to see. And we like the group. They're a really good group of young guys, great temperaments, and all of them have a little different strengths. And we'll see if anybody emerges. I don't think anybody knew a year ago that the Caleb story is going to take place. That's one of the fun things about football.
Yeah. One of the things I can appreciate about most of your players, and Caleb is in that category, is the way they respond to adversity. Because he could have went down 2 passes last August when he had a little transgression there where I'm out of here, guys. Or respond and then take off from there. He did that. Some of your younger running backs who kind of had to play behind him or not play very much and could get frustrated, could transfer in today's era, but instead, Jazz Patterson, Kamari Moulton, T.J. Washington, they've all had their moments, and now they're looking the part. I remember commenting with Kamari Moulton that he looked like a AAU point guard when he came in. He was like 170 pounds, and now he looks the part like a legitimate, almost 200-pound running back in the Big Ten. What do you see from these guys? It's not fair to expect them to be Caleb Johnson, but can they blaze their own path and be very productive in their own right?
Yeah, I think they can. Kamari did a great job in the Maryland game with that big run. Did a nice job finishing that. And then the bowl game, both those guys, the guys you talked about, all three of them played really well. So we've seen those guys. TJ's a little different because last year we used him at receiver. We needed help out there and had a good situation in the backfield. But to move him back there, I think that's his best spot. And then obviously he's got ball catching ability and route running to go with the running game, the running part of it. Kamari's best in the run game, quite frankly, and then Jazz is a hard-hitting guy. And then we like our 2 young guys, too. Xavier Williams done a really nice job. And Brevin Dahl's been hurt a little bit, but he showed a lot of promise last year, too. So I'm anxious to see how it all plays out. I don't think nobody knew last year exactly how it was going to go. I think all these guys complement each other. They get along great with each other, and it'll be fun to watch them grow and develop. Kind of similar to the receiver room in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Your offensive line, Coach Tim Lester said he's cautiously excited about where the offensive line says, but they have a long way to go. We obviously didn't see some of those key pieces at the spring practice, but what are you seeing that makes him be cautiously excited about this crew?
I'll start with the 3 veteran guys. Logan in the middle there, and then Bo and Jennings out there at tackle. All 3 of those guys really practiced real well all spring. We cut the reps a little bit, but they all did a good job, and they all have things to work on. So they kind of set the tempo for the entire offense and maybe the entire team. But the younger guys did a good job competing too. You've got Cade Pieper, Myslinski, Leighton Jones on the inside have done a good job. Walk-on Cale Winters done a nice job, and then outside Jack Doetzler and Trevor Locke both have improved greatly from a year ago. So that's how it's supposed to work in college football. You hope year 2, year 3, everybody's taking steps along the way. So good competition there. We've got a guy coming in, Bryce George is coming in from Ferris State in Michigan. I think he'll be a good addition to give us a little bit more competition, a little bit more veteran presence outside of the other 3 guys. So good group. They're good to work with, and seeing daily improvement with them. And I think it's really true of a lot of our guys. Whatever we saw the past couple of weeks here, we'll see a different team in August if they do things right in the summer, which I'm optimistic they will.
Probably the biggest change I saw last year was just the way the running game responded. It kind of back to what you wanted it to be overall. I mean, 197 yards per game, which was the second highest in your tenure next to the 0-2 team, and that was up from 115 the year before. And I can only imagine a couple of years ago watching that offensive line, and you're like, you can't put them in a microwave. You know, they got to kind of cook on their own, and they certainly did that. Replacing Mason Richmond and Connor Colby, two guys who were in the draft, has got to be challenging, but you got to do it every year. How do you go about replacing them, and how do you think this unit will continue to progress and move in that direction?
Yeah, it's a great question. You mentioned Mason and Connor. You know, they probably should have thrown me in jail because we threw Connor in there probably before he's ready, and he did a great job. And you know, when you do that, and Mason the same way. Mason had a lot of injuries through his time on campus. Great that both of them were healthy last year, and boy, they played great football all season long. But that experience, especially at that position, it's so important because it is a big jump when you go from high school to college. College to pros is a little bit of one still, but it's not quite as significant. And we put those guys in there. They battled and competed. And I think part of the reason they played so well last year is they have the mental toughness to put some scar tissue aside and keep working forward. But I think we're the guys that are in competition are a little bit better. They're not as young, so they've had a chance to grow a little bit, and they're probably in better position maybe to compete for jobs. And both Mason and Connor were 4 years ago.
Right.
But we were out of guys, so guess what? You're in there.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
You mentioned Bryce George and bringing him in, and you mentioned obviously his experience. Why else did you kind of see him as a good fit?
With who? I'm sorry, Charles.
George.
Oh.
The
Barnett?
lineman,
Bryce George.
Bryce George.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Bryce George.
Yeah. Well, we like this film.
Yeah.
And again, you're talking about a jump Division II to Big Ten football. But he's got a really good story. He was more of a basketball player, actually coming out of high school. The school he went to, he was commuting over an hour. They had recruited him to go there as a basketball player. And anyway, he had an ACL injury, so he didn't get recruited. Transitioned into football. And really did a nice job at Ferris State. So he's kind of still, a little bit raw as a football player, but he's a big, stronger guy. I just talked about Connor and Mason 4 years ago, the difference of them now versus what they were 4 years ago. So Bryce has already gone through the maturing part. He doesn't look like a basketball player anymore. He's 315 pounds. So he'll give us some experience. He's got a little bit of physical maturity that maybe a new guy coming in, a freshman, wouldn't have. And we'll see how he does. But he's played football. Again, it's a really valuable thing. I don't think the mental part will be a transition at all for him. And anxious to get him here, just to get him learning the nomenclature terminology. 2 years ago, Rusty Feth came in from Miami. I'd look at it kind of a similar thing. We weren't sure how much he'd help us or not help us. Rusty ended up being a really valuable player on our team 2 years ago, just because he's a veteran and really competed well for us. So that's what we're hoping to get from Bryce.
Do you anticipate him starting him out on the left side, or because Jennings is obviously one of the best right tackles in college football? Yeah,
we'll figure that out. I mean, we feel really good about Jennings, obviously. I can't imagine him not being in there. And so that gives us, we'll let the guys just figure the reps out. Left, right, I think it's overplayed sometimes, although with some players you can't move them. So we'll see how that goes. But I think we'll have plenty of time to figure it out. And whoever ends up being the best of the group will be the guy starting. And he'd be a candidate at guard also. I wouldn't rule him out there.
Okay.
All right, we'll talk defense when we come back.
Good.